Israel's northern border is a land of stark contradiction. Where flourishing farming communities once stood, the escalating tensions with Hezbollah has forced most of the population to be displaced. While the world's eyes fixate on the war raging in the south of the country, the north is bracing for what could be a similarly dark fate. This is Sarit Zahavi, a lieutenant colonel in the IDF Reserves, as well as the founder and president of ALMA, a research and education centre that specialises in Israel's security challenges on its northern border. I met with her to grasp the full picture of the threat Hezbollah poses to the northern communities.
60,000 Israelis were evacuated pretty much at the beginning of the war because nobody could promise them that Hezbollah will not carry out the same invasion as Hamas had done. Mm-hmm. By the way, the plan that Hamas executed in the south was written by Hezbollah. Okay. Hezbollah published the same plan same plan with all the details, including the idea of trapping civilians to become human shields.
Right. How long before October 7th did they publish?
A decade ago.
نحو الآتي الفرقة الأولى تخترق نقطة الناقورة باتجاه الحدود وتجتازها نحو
This video was broadcast by Al Mayadeen, a Lebanese news channel aligned with Iran and Hezbollah. In this news report, they explicitly detail a planned invasion of northern Israel that includes the use of human shields.
There. IDF a few years ago found 6 border crossing tunnels of Hezbollah in an operation that was held inside Israel. IDF didn't cross to Lebanon to reveal the tunnels. This tunnel is about 1 kilometer long. Mm-hmm. It's about 80 meters deep. Everything you see, the stairs, the communication, the electricity, the trail, everything was made by Hezbollah. Mm-hmm. This is a Hezbollah video that is documenting the shooting of anti-tank missiles to the Israeli communities and hitting the homes inside the Israeli communities. Mm-hmm. And this is happening every day. Wow. Every day. So these are anti-tank missiles that cannot be intercepted by Iron Dome. Mm-hmm. We don't have alerts because it's direct shooting from short ranges, even though they can get to up to 10 kilometers. We feel that we are being hunted.
Right.
This is what we feel. If you go on the borderline...
These are already evacuated homes.
Evacuated homes. This is Metula. Evacuated homes, but we had a few civilian casualties because you need to understand that these communities are provided by agriculture.
Many of these communities are within shockingly close range of the border. So it's not even half a mile, it's just there.
It's not half a mile, it's
right
few feet.
Yeah, okay, wow.
Literally few feet.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so frightening because you have zero time for alert, zero time to warn the people if there is an infiltration or an invasion. You don't have time to alert them. I want to show you something. This guy took photos of me. He just appeared from the bushes, out of the bushes, and he was wearing uniforms. He was wearing a mask, and I was in pretty much hidden place, but it was clear that he can see me. I was on the border. One of these days that everything was empty. And all of a sudden I saw them. They didn't come because of me. They were just there. This is a patrol of commanders. And this person is actually pointing at some stuff on the border, showing them the sector, actually, learning the area. After I went back from this tour, I called my staff and I told them, each time they are coming with a camera, one day they will come with the anti-tank.
Yeah. A short walk from the Alma Centre, Sarit puts in perspective just how close these communities are to the border.
You see the zigzag road over there?
Yeah.
So that's the border. It's not a road, actually it's the wall.
Okay.
This place is unique because, and today the visibility is so amazing. Actually the border goes all along the horizon line, on the ridge, on the farthest ridge. But over there, next to the zigzag road, what you see is that the border goes down.
Right.
And then it goes up with the zigzag road. So everything that is left to the zigzag road is Israeli. 600 crossings of the blue line into Israel in 4 months. Wow. Now it's not immigration. It's not that. It's people that came, crossed and went back. Crossed and went. What's the meaning of that? The meaning of that is to try to find the weak spots on the border and to prepare for an invasion. This is exactly what Hamas had done in Gaza.
Yeah.
When I saw this number, I was amazed. This is a very high number.
Yeah. Quiet.
It's quiet
It is
at the moment.
the saddest thing that I ever saw is my beautiful galley empty.
I went up north to an evacuated kibbutz called Mitsuba. There I met with Yuval, who was evacuated from his home nearly 5 months ago.
So
Lebanon, I don't know if you can see, but Lebanon is over there.
just on the hill there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is also a kibbutz, Hanita. I don't know if you heard the name.
Yes.
It's just on the border.
Yeah.
We are 2 kilometers, but Hanita is directly on the border. Also, obviously evacuated.
How do you feel coming back here at the moment? Like even today, what's it like for you coming back into your home? And
I was, I told the Sarit, I was very emotional, actually, to see the house again. I miss it.
yeah,
What can we do?
Yeah.
We're trying to do our best.
yeah.
Everyone trying to do his best.
I wanted to gain a deeper perspective on the complexity of the conflict and how it all fits within the larger picture that is the Middle East. This is Avi Melamed, founder of Inside the Middle East Intelligence Perspectives, former IDF intelligence officer and expert on the Middle East.
Big story of the Middle East. Israel is used as a pawn by both factors, meaning by the mullah regime in Tehran, as well as by Islamic factors in the Arab world in the context of their inner political power struggle regarding the question of national status.
We drove to the far reaches of Israel's Upper Galilee region, to a kibbutz situated not more than a mile from the Lebanese border. The cheers and laughter from children that once made up the soundtrack of life at kibbutz Dafna have fallen silent, as all of the kibbutz's residents have been evacuated. The playgrounds are quiet, the markets are shuttered, and areas of the kibbutz are now off limits as they are within target range of Hezbollah. This is Arik. He is community leader at kibbutz Dafna, as well as a retired IDF officer of 25 years.
אז אמרנו בעצם ש-600 תושבים התפנו לאותם בתי מלון, ואנחנו בהתחלה כולם העריכו שזה עניין של, לא יודע, כמה ימים, אולי כמה שבועות. אף אחד לא דמיין שאנחנו נהיה היום 4 חודשים אחרי הפינוי, כשלא רואים את הסוף, ואף אחד לא יודע בכלל מתי חוזרים, אם חוזרים ולאיזה מציאות חוזרים.
The yellow building is the swimming pool of the kibbutz.
Okay.
It used to be once a movie theater.
Oh wow.
You can't go beyond that yellow building, because once you go beyond it, you are standing right in a front line in front of Hezbollah's.
Wow.
And you could be hit by anti-tank missiles or whatever they're going to shoot.
A family-owned pasta restaurant, a local yoga studio, a chocolate museum, a community watering hole where fluttering pride flags are a stark reminder of happier days before the evacuation.
But what would you say to someone who comes from where I come from, who doesn't understand the reality here, who doesn't get that this is transferable? You know, the way of life here is exactly the same as the way of life there. What would you say about your life here and your right to be here to those people?
בוא נגיד שאין לנו זכות להיות פה, אוקיי? זה עדיין מצדיק לשרוף אנשים חיים או לשרוף תינוקות או לאנוס נשים, ובגלל זה אני אומר, זה הרבה יותר מורכב ובטח לא פשטני. זה לא סכסוך טריטוריאלי, אתה מבין את זה לגמרי. זה סכסוך, לא סתם קוראים לחמאס אחרי 7 באוקטובר וגם לחיזבאללה התחלנו לקרוא להם ארגונים נאצים, כי אתה מבין שזה פשוט נאציזם. אין לזה מילה אחרת. על טריטוריה אפשר להתפשר. מדינות לאורך השנים ידעו לעשות הסכמי שלום. דרך אגב, ישראל עשתה את זה. היא החזירה לא מעט שטחים. היא החזירה את סיני, היא יצאה מרצועת עזה בשביל השלום. אני חושב שישראל לאורך השנים הוכיחה שהיא מדינה שוחרת שלום. אפשר להתווכח על זה, אבל בסוף יצאנו מלבנון וכן הלאה. זאת אומרת, אין פה איזה דרייב של ישראל לכבוש ולהיות איזה אימפריה או מעצמה קולוניאליסטית. אנחנו לא שם. וכשאתה משווה את זה רגע לאספירציות של הצד השני, אתה מבין שאנחנו בכלל לא משדרים על אותה ספירה.
Arik says, like, you know, in the end of the day, you're looking at nothing that is less than existential fear.
Yeah, I have 3 sons. One is 13, one is 17 in his 12th grade, and one is 19 and a half.
Is he serving?
He's supposed to on April. He did like a national service.
Okay.
Working with horses and dogs. His bosses were recruited. Recruited just into 7th of October, and he should go to the army at April.
How do you feel about that?
If you ask me about like the most difficult thing, beside not coming back here, is that point.
You saw anything of the news reports from October 7th? What did you see when you looked at the kibbutz, the videos from? Did you recognize? What did it feel like for you watching that?
I hardly watched. It was very hard for me, and even now when I see all interviews, I keep telling myself that it's true. Like I cannot imagine that it really happened. And every time when I go to Tel Aviv to the kidnapped square, and I speak with the families, so it comes again the understanding that it really happened, and mainly the stories of the women, which it's like I cannot imagine that it happened in my country. Like I don't know how people in the world. I know how people in the world think about Israel, but for me it's like a very safe place to live, very normal place to live, and to bring up children to. And the stories from there, it's like things that I heard about the Holocaust, like stories I heard from my grandparents, my grand-grandparents, but stories. Something that I had to imagine that really happened. I still have to tell myself again and again that it really happened, that it's not a story.
Yeah.
And that it could have happened to me, and to my kids, and to my families. That's why I told you before, I might be evacuated to I'm not in my house, but we're alive. My children are alive, my families are alive.
Right. So. And I just want to stop for a second and kind of look at this neighborhood and what we've just walked down, because I don't know if it's the weather and like the grey clouds and the looming threat of rain, but this looks very like some of the areas where I grew up in Glasgow. Today it does. I'm sure on a sunny day it would never, but today it does, and it's making me think about what it would feel like for me if I grew up where I grew up. And the most concerning things were a bunch of matters that had nothing to do with the potential of a mile down the road or up a hill being, resided by a vicious threat that didn't want me and my family and the people I went to school with and my teachers and everyone else to not exist in that place.
One of the major concepts that we are dealing with is what we call the Ring of Fire. This is the Iranian master plan, how to basically eliminate the state of Israel through the use of conventional weapons. And the concept of Ring of Fire that the Iranians have been working and developing is to create this network of proxies, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Iranian-backed militias in Syria, Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza Strip. They will circle around Israel's neck, and when the time comes, they will all simultaneously operate together to attack Israel as one, and from all different directions. So what we saw in October 7th was actually an example of the concept of unifying the arenas. It's called in Arabic unifying the arenas, Wahdat al-Sahat. And the concept was basically that when the day comes and there is this war, they are all going to be engaged in this war. But what happened on the ground was that Hamas launched that war, Islamic Jihad and Hamas launched that war from Gaza Strip on October 7, yet the other components of this Ring of Fire, meaning Hezbollah and other Iranian-backed militias, didn't really step in full scale into this war. In other words, Hamas and Islamic Jihad to a large extent find themselves alone facing Israel military might. You can understand that for Hamas and Islamic Jihad, this is a cause for anger because they are very frustrated and disappointed with the fact that their colleagues did not join into the war.
I believe that for Iran, it was very comfortable to sacrifice Hamas, to sacrifice Gaza, to sacrifice the Palestinians of Gaza, because what is the process that is happening now is that after Gaza was sacrificed, Iran can learn, Hezbollah can learn from the tactic level of how IDF is fighting in a foreign land, up to the strategic level of what's the relationship between Israel and the United States look like under these circumstances. And all this learning is to create another front.
Mitzubah and Dafna are only two of the many communities along Israel's northern front that have had their populations' lives violently disrupted. And while war rages in the Gaza Strip, the displaced citizens of the north wonder when they will ever be able to return to their homes that are now the front lines of Israel's secondary front. These now desolate, mostly agricultural communities that dot the border with Lebanon are but a glimpse of what a full-scale war with Hezbollah would mean.
And we should all be paying attention.